Hello and welcome to the Canyons Are Calling podcast. I'm Cheryl Jocelyn, your host for the show. Hopefully you all had a wonderful Labor Day weekend out enjoying the canyons. I was able to spend mine with my grandkids who are moving to New York, so I just wanted to maximize my time with them. I want to first of all say thank you to all of the fans who have sent me pictures for my wall. I no longer feel like I'm talking to blank space. I feel like I'm talking to fans out there. There is still a little bit of room on my collage, so if you'd like to send in a photo, you can do that to thecanyonsarecalling@gmail.com. Also, if you would like to support this show, you can do that on patreon.com/thecanyonsarecalling. Patreon is just a way that you can support people like me and podcasts where we don't have sponsors, we don't do ads, we just rely on our listeners for our support. The podcast does cost a little bit of money to make, and it does take a little bit of my time. So if you appreciate these stories and you find value in them, any amount is awesome. I have $2 up to $20 tiers, or you can just make a donation, a one-time donation, whatever you feel like is worth to you. With the Patreon, you will get a monthly canyon call where we all get together and talk about different canyon topics. Sometimes I have guests on. Other times we just talk about gear or canyons or whatever we want to talk about. It's just a fun way for all of us to get to know each other and just talk about canyons. It's pretty fun. Also, depending on the tier level that you donate, you will receive stickers and beer glasses and whatnot. So if that interests you and you feel like my time has been valuable and my stories are impactful to you, you can join us on patreon.com/thecanyonsarecalling. You can also join us on our Facebook group page, The Canyons Are Calling, or our Instagram page, Canyons Are Calling. And there I just post when I have interviews coming up or anything related to canyons that I find that people might be interested in. If you have an idea for the show, you can reach out to me at The Canyons Are Calling. That's exactly what Christian did after the Ouray Canyon Festival. I got this awesome email. He says, I have a 12-year-old daughter, Marley, who went to the festival with me this year. It was the first time for both of us. We started canyoneering in 2019, and on her first trip, she was dubbed the Spider Monkey. This was Marley's first experience in wet canyons and her first 170-foot rappel. We did Middle and Lower Oak. My observation with her sharing her experience with the other canyoneers at the community center later that day was the women that talked to her did one of two things. Those with experience encouraged and reassured her that every big waterfall rappel would get better as her experience grows. The less experienced gained confidence and empowerment, knowing that she was giving raw, honest feedback about how it felt, how she felt, and how she was able to convince herself to get to the bottom. I am super excited to share Marley's story with you today. Enjoy. Okay, so today we are here with Marley, and she is here to tell us about how she got into canyoneering. You're what, 12 years old?
Yes, 12.
And when did you start canyoneering?
About 4 years ago.
How old were you?
Like 8 or 9.
8 or 9? Awesome. So how did you get into the outdoors before canyoneering?
Well, we have always just been like an outdoor family, always just doing hikes and stuff. Like when I was a little baby, my parents took me on a hike one time, and I would just climb up the like huge rocks, or quote unquote huge rocks, because I was a little baby, and I would just climb up them. I did not want to have my parents carry me, but I wanted to hike up the little hike.
Right. I want to climb at such a young age.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are some of your favorite hikes?
Well, I don't really know how to name most of them because, I don't really pay attention to that. I'm a kid. But but I just kind of like just going on little walks and going on hikes that have like little climbing areas or just rocks that you can jump off of, and just like really naturey scenery hikes.
And you're in the Denver area, right? So you're hiking mostly in the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah, sometimes, or sometimes we'll take a little drive to go out somewhere.
What are your favorite areas to go?
Well, I'm pretty sure Boulder has some, and like Fort Collins, and then wherever else we went, I don't remember.
Cool. Awesome. So do you know what your favorite canyons are?
Yes. We used to go out to Utah a lot, and we still do sometimes, like once a year. And I really like this one canyon called Lucky Charms because you don't have to like do anything like real specific. It's just like a little hike with some jumps and climbs and stuff. And there's an awesome point where you can just like look at the stars. That's why we always go at night. And it's just really cool.
You do the canyon at night?
Mm-hmm. Because you can see all the stars from one point where you just stem across it and then you can just look up and see all the stars.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's called Lucky Charms, I think.
I'm going to have to put that on my list. I think that's in Northwash. Is that right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I've done a few of those out that way, but there's some really fun ones. Have you done like Leprechaun and
Yeah.
Nice.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. Have you done Hogwarts?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have.
Hogwarts is pretty cool because not only is it named after like Harry Potter or whatever, but then it also has a cool arch that you get to go under. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, that one's really cool.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I'm always like, I'm not gonna do Hogwarts this time, and then we get down there and we do Hogwarts, and I was like, I love this canyon. I don't know why I said I wasn't gonna do it this time. It's always fun. Awesome. So, you were just barely at the Ouray Festival and did your first Class C canyons. Is that right?
Yeah, it was my first water canyons that we've been in, but we figured that if I've gone canyoneering and I've gone rafting, I pretty much should know how to do it.
And what were your thoughts on combining the two?
Well, I always like to try something new, and I was like, okay, this could be pretty cool. Because, like, I mean, who doesn't want to, like, rappel down a waterfall? Like, that seems pretty cool.
Right. What canyons did you do out there?
We did Lower and Middle Oak. What was it first?
Lower Angel.
We did Lower Angel in Portland.
Okay.
I think that's all we could squeeze in before we had to leave.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that I saw you the first night I was at the community center, but then the next day I was there, I didn't see you again because I was gonna try to talk to you when we were there.
Oh yeah.
I didn't see you, but I also did Lower Portland and Angel this time, and I've done Middle and Lower Oak before in the past. And how did you feel about that 170-foot waterfall?
That one, it was really scary. And it hurt a lot going down like the last 30 feet because I was going really slow because instead of going fast down it, you kind of think when it's your first time, like, oh, I need to stop. Like, you're going to freak out and, like, hold on and hunch up and be small. But you're really not supposed to do that, and I learned that the hard way. But you definitely can't judge it by the first time. I probably should go on it again and, like, because I know now that I can't just stay. I have to go down so I don't get hurt.
Yeah, because you're talking about getting hurt, like the water is just pelting you, right? And it's just like
it hurts a lot.
Fire hose right on top of your head. I feel like the first time I went down too, yeah, I was like trying to be really in control and paying attention to the rappel. And then the next time I was just like, I'm flying down this thing. Like, I just want to go. And then I also learned, do you wear a hat? Like
no.
A hat with a rim on it really helps a lot. And I never wear one except for when I'm rappelling in waterfalls now. And it's because the first time in Lower Oak, I didn't have one. and it just gives you like a couple more inches of air so you can breathe.
Oh, that's
So
smart. I was
that's
wearing
a little bit
goggles
oh, goggles
and
is smart.
crying. I was crying so much that I had to stop and like open the goggles and drain out the tears and then put it back on and keep going.
I love that you say that laughing now. And that you want to go back.
But like I would like stop crying and I just open it, pour it out, put it back on, and start crying again.
Oh, that's great. I was probably crying too. And I was like 40 and not 12.
Yeah.
So that's really incredible.
I mean, you're always gonna cry on that one rappel the first time. It's just always gonna happen.
Yeah. Next time you go back, you should hit Bear Creek. That one was one of my favorites. But you need to make sure that it's like moderate flow. It was pretty high this year. And I have yet to do Upper Uncompahgre. That was really on my list this year, but I have a couple injuries and I didn't think it was smart to go in the canyon with some injuries. So I was only able to do Lower Angel and Portland this year.
They're still fun though.
Yeah. I hiked with a friend to Middle Oak or Lower Oak. But then by the time the group got there, the weather was moving in. And my friend and I had made a commitment that we didn't want to enter the canyon if it was after 12:30 because we knew that the weather was coming in later in the day. And what we had seen throughout the festival was that you did get like some significant downpour around 3 or 4. And so we did not want to be in the canyon at that time. And so we chose to not go. And they came out at 12:45. And so even though it was only 15 minutes later, I was still just like, this is past my call of judgment and I don't want to go into the canyon. And there was really dark clouds around. And so we chose not to go into the canyon. And when we got to the car, it was downpouring. And I was like, if we would have been there, those two people, it would have been 10 minutes per rappel at least. And we would have been in the storm in the canyon, and that would have just made my anxiety levels way too high.
Good.
That's when mistakes I feel happen, is when you're like trying to rush and trying to get through things. So the team had a great time because they continued through. My friend and I had a great hike, and everybody's fine. So I think we all had a great day.
Yeah, the best part about being up there is that even if you don't get in a canyon, there's still like a bunch of cool hikes and stuff you can do up there.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot more than
it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I love that area. So I knew that I had the injuries going in, and I still was just like, we can go, my husband can hike, whatever, it'll still be fun. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that canyoneering has impacted your life?
It's one of my favorite hobbies. It's really fun. But one of the down parts about it is that, like, if I'm ever going to tell someone, oh, yeah, I rappelled down a 170-foot waterfall, you don't really, like, understand how, like, big of a deal that is unless you see it. Because it's like, oh, cool. But if you, like, saw it, you'd be like, oh, whoa.
Right. A lot of people can't grasp what 170 feet looks like until you're there, for sure. Do you have any friends that go canyoneering with you?
Yeah, a few, but I was like a lot younger, and like, everyone's kind of grown up. They were all older than me, so we don't get to meet up with them very much anymore.
Okay. Awesome. Too bad there's not like a kid canyoneering club.
I know, that'd be awesome.
We need to try to create that somehow. You guys get with the Bakers and the Dyes and some of the other Utah families. There's got to be Colorado families too. Oh, the MacArthur guy from the festival with Reef. We should get you guys in contact. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd love to have more friends with that.
What things have you learned through canyoneering?
Well, you've definitely got to be safe with what you're doing. Because it's all fun and games until you hear a snap and you're in the middle of a rappel and you're like, oh, what was that? Like, you got to make sure that everything's secure. You got to have, like, new stuff when things start wearing out. And you got to have the appropriate gear. You've got to be prepared. You got to have extra things just in case. And just have fun with it, but have precautions. Have, like, a limit.
Awesome. Sounds like you know a lot about that kind of stuff. Do you help your dad make your plans?
Yeah, sometimes. And whenever he goes on, like, a course, he, like, tells me and teaches me stuff. And we always practice in our tree in the front yard before we go anywhere, just to, like, remember things.
That's cool. I used to have a great tree I could practice in. It was awesome. Trees are good if you don't have cliffs nearby, for sure. That's really cool. So do you have any plans for cool canyons in the future?
We're kind of just, like, going with the flow. I mean, sometimes it's like, pack your stuff. We're gonna go do it this week because this person on Facebook or something just reached out to us. And we're like, okay.
Awesome. How do you feel the water, like Class C type canyons in Ouray, compared to the dry Utah canyons?
It's like, it was the first time I've ever done it, so I'm still kind of warming up to it. And I don't really prefer it that much over canyons because there's just so much higher risk and you just have to do it faster. And it's all super slippery, so you always have to, like, worry about, like, slipping at some point. And there's not as much, like, just hanging. Like, there's, like, always water or something in your way and you can't just, like, slide down it super fast. I always, like, want to make sure that I don't slip and hurt myself. I'm just new to it, but I'll probably warm up to it.
Nice. So do you plan on going back to Ouray or doing some of the more aquatic canyons at some point?
Yeah, I think we should go back to Ouray. Or, yeah, we should go back to Ouray a few times, but I do want to stay in Utah a little bit more and do that a bit more.
Nice.
Just kind of balance it off.
I live next to Zion, and I'm like a fish out of water when I get into the Class C canyons, for sure. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing at all. It's just totally different. Yeah. And definitely more slippery. So you're way more on guard and so much more to think about, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, canyoneering always makes me super duper hungry. So what is your favorite in canyon snack?
We have not had a very, like, this is what we're always going to bring type of snack, like, very direct. But I think what would be a good thing to bring would be, like, pickles or mango.
I love it. You know what? Like, they have these little why can't I remember it? Go Snap or something pickles, and they are the best. I'm going to put a link to them with your podcast here so you guys can check them out. I usually find them at the grocery store, like in the salad section. But they're like little cut up pickles, or you can get like the full pickle, and they're always crispy, and they're in a little package, so you can bring them in your backpack.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. It's my favorite.
Yeah, like, if I ever mess on, and I do, and I meet people who don't like pickles, I'm like, we're friends, but I don't think we can be best friends.
Where are you from?
Like, how do you not like
right now? I think it's Snap. Snap pickles.
Snap.
They're the best.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Snap! It's a delicious pickle.
Yeah. And you're in the canyon. They make spicy ones too. If you're into spicy stuff, they make carrots and peas and all the things. They should sponsor the show.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be like really awesome.
That's hilarious. What's your favorite after canyon beverage?
I think probably Juice because it's like flavored water, but it's like has so much energy and it has the perfect amount in the bottle so that you're just like fully filled up and you're ready to go and it tastes great. And yeah.
What is it?
Juice, B-A-Y.
B-A-Y. Okay. I'm going to have to look that up.
B-A-I. I don't know why I said Y. It's an I.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. There's like, they have like a coconut one and.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are good.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like electrolytes and stuff too, right? And some vitamins. They're good.
Yeah, I think so.
Not like, not a bunch of sugary crap. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there an essential piece of gear that you always carry with you?
I mean, not really much from all the like obvious things you use, like carabiners and whatever you're gonna need for that trip, depending on where you're going.
Probably your dad's carrying the most essential stuff, right?
No, he actually gives me all the heavy equipment stuff, and then he takes it from me.
Oh, really?
He has me carry the weight so he could use it.
I mean, there's another good reason to take your kids into the canyons for sure.
Yeah, because I got a backpack.
They can be the pack mules. Somebody has to carry the rope.
Yeah. Oh well, it just makes me more buff.
For sure, it's training.
Yeah.
Training. That's awesome. So Christian, I do have a couple questions for you. What is it like to get your child into canyoneering?
It definitely makes me more active. I mean, it's fun. I mean, her mom and her brother, they don't like the outdoor stuff quite as much as we do. They're good with hikes and doing some. We can talk her brother into doing stuff, and then he has a really good time. He's a couple years older, but
he never admits it. But you can always find one picture of him smiling, having the best time of his life.
So we're kind of the partners in crime. Yeah, we're kind of the partners in crime going out there, and it's interesting because I do feel as a parent who's bringing their kid along that there's some responsibility on me to make sure that she does have a basic set of skills, because when you sign up for a group, a lot of times sometimes there's nowhere to put a +1, or even if you do, you can't say, well, this is a 12-year-old kid, right? Mm-hmm. And right. So there's already, especially in like Ouray, when you're signing up with people that you don't necessarily know, maybe, and then you show up and there's apprehension because nobody knows what everyone else's skill level is yet, and now you got this 12-year-old kid, right? And right. So there's just a little more responsibility on that end as a parent, but that's kind of the fun too. I mean, it's nice to have a partner, like she mentioned earlier. When I go off and do a canyoneering course, I have someone to come back and share those skills with, which reinforces it for me as well. And it's good too, because if I teach her something incorrectly, we both figure out, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't the way to do that, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of both learn together through trial and error. That was one thing that we practiced in the tree before we went to Ouray, was self-rescue. Mm-hmm. And we used all the different, we used VT Prosek, we used rope man, we used what else did we use? Like micro tracks.
Yeah, micro traction.
Just a piece of sling, a webbing, and just going through all those different techniques. Just that's good to practice that and see another person doing it while the other person's sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly they learn that stuff. Yeah. And they can figure it out. I've always been impressed with how well she can, once you give her the basics, we problem solve. So like the last time we went up in the tree, I would take pieces off her harness.
Nice.
And she was up there, I'll you drop that. Now what are you gonna do?
You're
Yeah.
like, well, dang, you just dropped the expensive stuff. Now I have to use this piece of webbing.
That's really, really cool that you guys practice that together. That's a lot of things that we all as canyoneers should be practicing together more often. So I love
Yeah.
hearing that you guys together as, father and daughter practice that. That's really, really cool.
Well, we're definitely there's a group here in Colorado that started doing some more practice sessions. And because we're always jealous of the people in Salt Lake City that are posting that they're doing a Wednesday night practice or whatever. It's like, oh man, we need to do that here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I started the Naughty Nights here in Kanab, and then they just kind of took off. And then I do twice a year, I do a skills day out here. I don't do Naughty Nights anymore though, because here in Kanab it didn't really take off, so it wasn't really worth my time. Like 2 people would show up and whatever. I might start it again this winter, but it's really, really cool thing to see take off for sure. And I think that there's some going on in the Boulder area, but I'll have to check that out for sure to see. I don't know how far you guys are from Boulder.
Yeah, we're pretty close to Boulder, and AJ Pastula is kind of our local
Right.
expert guy. So yeah, he's part of putting that series together. Practice.
Yeah, he would be the one I would send you to too. So
yeah, I mean, he's just such a good teacher. He knows so much stuff. It's really good to know him and be able to ask him questions. It's great.
Shout out to AJ. I hope to get him on the show one of these days when he's not in guide mode and so busy.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, awesome. Is there any other type of stuff that you guys do to get her prepared more for canyoneering? Anything you would recommend for other parents to do?
Yeah, I think just making it fun, right? I mean, we always have fun with it. I think there's something to just being able to go out and kind of let your kid run free. It's like when you can take your dog somewhere and let him off leash. It's the same kind of enthusiasm that you can see in them.
Calling me a dog, are you?
Dogs are cool.
I mean, I always remember the first time I ever went canyoneering because they didn't really tell me what I was going to be doing.
Okay.
So we were in
Is this Goblin Valley?
Yeah.
Goblin Valley, and then I think it's Goblin's Lair.
Yeah, in Utah.
Okay. The Chamber of the Basilisk.
Yeah.
We went through, and then they hooked me up to in a harness, and they put me on the rope, and I'm sitting there, just on the edge, and I'm just like crying to them, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, whining. And then as soon as I get down off the cliffhanger, I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. And I start going super fast to the point where I'm not even holding it because it's so fun. And like everyone else who's on like fireman belay and like an extra belay had to like fastly feed it through, and like they couldn't keep up with me. And I just really enjoyed it after that because, when you just put your kid on 100-foot rappel for the first ever rappel, it's like, oh.
Yeah, and that one's free hanging most of the way, if I remember right, isn't it?
It is free hanging, and that was the first time that we had gone, and even I didn't know we were going to end up doing that. So, but the theory with the guys we went is it's an icebreaker. Like if you can do that, nothing else we're going to do the rest of the week is going to be tough. So
exactly.
If you can rappel into a dark hole that you can't see the bottom of, then you're going to be fine.
Right. Yeah, that's a really fun rappel. If anyone's in the Capitol Reef area, check it out.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
And then you can play hide and seek. You can play hide and seek in the goblins afterwards.
Oh yeah. They forgot about me one time in there. I was hiding too good apparently, and they all started leaving, but I was right by the gate, like the entrance, so I was like running out like, hey, you forgot about me. And they were like, oh. Hop in the car.
That's awesome.
That was very
so
fun.
after the Goblin's Lair, what did you guys do that weekend?
Yeah, we did Ding and Dang, and then we did Baptist Draw.
Oh yeah, those ones were fun.
Okay, awesome. That's a great initiation to canyoneering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't love the hike out and Baptist draw, but
No, we did not like that at all.
You know, I feel like I always say every canyon has its price, right? And some canyons cost a little more than others, and that's like the sucky hike out or the sucky hike in.
Yeah, when we were doing Middle and Lower Oak in Ouray, like it's an awesome canyon. I'd totally go again, but the hike in is not worth it. Not worth it.
Yeah,
long,
that hike is brutal.
Uphill, deep. Yeah. No, like no whatsoever sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
No thanks.
But the trade-off is the hike out's pretty short.
Yeah. Like we'd be hiking up and it's like, is that already the registration thingy right there?
Yeah, the hike out's super duper short.
Yeah.
And the bridge is pretty cool, right? You check that troll out under there.
Yeah.
The bridge maker is also an artist, so he put that troll there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I found that out when we were doing the perimeter hike the day before. So throw that out there. Awesome job, bridge maker guy. That's an artist.
Yeah.
Should have found out his name, I guess.
I think it might be in the guidebook. I think I read about that in the guidebook. I think it's in there.
Okay. I'll throw it.
The data somewhere has the information in there about it. So
yeah, nice. It's a really cool troll under the bridge for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. So if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
I think I'd probably go to like a super cool canyon place because it's the one thing that I enjoy doing nice. It's fun, it's really pretty, but like I want to have like a nice, really long free hang and you can like spin around slowly and you can look at the pretty canyon and then you can look at the pretty mountains and then you can look at the pretty canyon and then you can look at the pretty mountains and you just continue spinning for like 20 minutes. Just look at the canyon, look at the mountains.
Oh my God, you're like the girl I never had. My one daughter is terrified of canyoneering. I took her a few times, and the one time I was like, she's going to hate me on the hike out, and that was like her favorite part. She hated the rappelling. She hated she just hates rappelling.
Everything. But the hike out was pretty cool.
She loved it. And the climb out was like really steep. It was like scrambling, and she loved that part, and was like my crux. Like I hated it, and I was like, she's gonna hate me. But yeah, my son went rappelling one time, never will go again. So
but it's a good experience to have.
I really want to take the grandkids. So hopefully
they probably have
more inspiration. They'll be like into it.
Yeah.
Bring them with their mom. It'll be fun. So both of you, I want to ask if you have any safety advice for our listeners before we say goodbye.
I say always trust your instincts and your gut, because if you like look at something and it's like, okay, that's a down climb, but like I just don't feel right. Like sometimes you can go down and apparently, and like maybe the rocks were loose. So if you went down it, you could have gotten hurt. Like that's definitely happened a few times before with me, where you just gotta trust it. You gotta know what's going on. You gotta make sure you have what you need. Like do research before, check the weather, make sure everything's good. Like know the pros and cons, and then just have fun with it. You know.
Very well said.
Yeah, I think practicing and continuing to learn. You know, I always pick something up out of a course, and a lot of the courses that I've taken, they've allowed you to take video of it while you're in there to keep for yourself. And I know when I took my level 2 and level 3 kind of back to back with Uber in Moab, and it's funny because I review those videos before we go out, and it's like, oh, now I understand more what they were trying to show. Like it clicks in a different way than it did in the class, especially if it's not something that you were going to use. until
Like
you
the more
know.
canyons you do, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
like once you know you're going into a certain canyon and you might need to set up like a traverse, for example. And
Okay,
you're like,
and then you review that
and you're like,
condition.
oh, okay, that makes more sense now than
Yeah.
before when I've never done that. I never rigged one of those before. So
Right.
then you know, and certain things just hit a little bit different. Or you pick up something that somebody said maybe off to the side that you didn't quite pick up before. And then, so all that, just continuing to learn and practice. There's always new stuff to learn. They're really, especially when you get into these canyons that are bolted so much, and then you get into some place where it's not bolted, and then you really do need to get creative with your anchor building or something like that.
Right. Or the
also-
incidences where they're doing like bolt wars and they're taking out the bolts that are there. So if somebody knows that there's bolts there and then they go back, like I feel like that is going to cause some problems. If people think that there's bolts and there's not, and so they go back and they don't have the anchor building skills, I feel like that causes a lot of problems. So
yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
yeah, it is that we could talk for hours about bolting and not bolting for sure.
And then the other thing I think is important is just, especially if you're going out with a newer group of people, like in Ouray, if you signed up with a group, just kind of getting that team communication down.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is kind of interesting is when you're at that kind of novice intermediate level, you know, I definitely put us in that category. We're not super experienced or anything like that, but there's this kind of like just kind of brain fog within the group because everybody's not 100% sure what, especially if you're going to a new canyon, never been down before, and it's just this kind of like we all know what we're supposed to be doing, but then there's like maybe the person that jumps ahead to set up the next anchor, they forgot to bring the rope bag, you know, silly things like that, because you're just thinking about so many things, trying to be safe or just trying to navigate the canyon. And just, I think as you do more, like as there was actually a couple that we went with 2 days in a row, and by the end of that second day, we kind of had our communication down. We knew who was, the one woman was a great down climber. So her and Marley were down climbing crazy stuff that the rest of us were like, I don't think we can do that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of figured out where all the strengths and everybody's strengths and weaknesses, and trying to figure that out and not be embarrassed to share what you do know or what you don't know when you get in there, because you don't want to know that when something turns bad. You want to know that beforehand. Have that
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me the conversation that my friend and I had on our hike up to Oak Creek, and we started talking. Well, we heard a whistle of somebody that was in lower, and so her and I started talking about the whistle signals and what you do and things like that. And I was like, well, we should reiterate with the group that's already in there, because some people have different signals for whistling and other things. I mean, usually it's like 2 short ones for on rappel and all the things. I'll put a link to what the whistle commands should be from the ACA, so we can all get on the same page. But there are groups that I've been with that just like don't even know, never been through canyons, and don't know what whistle signals should be. And so always to make sure with your group, like, this is what this means and this is what this means, and whatever is definitely important. Communication, you can never have too much communication, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then I think Marley making a good point too, like just know your limitations. The last time we were out in Utah, the last time we were out in Utah doing canyons in North Wash, we actually did bail on a couple of canyons because it was a little above the group's skill up. It was a pretty good sized group, and there were quite a few kids in the group. And so, we had a really good, the strongest climber in the group kind of scouted ahead. And, we were getting in one canyon. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was getting really tight. Like the skinniest kid in the group was having trouble getting through there. And so us older guys that what was in our packs, we couldn't quite fit through some of those slots. And And so our strongest climber kind of went ahead a little bit, and he said, nah, there's no way we're not all gonna make it through. If it was just, 3 of us or 4 of us, we'd be fine. But it's going to take a long time to get through there. And then we were actually going to do woodies. Are you familiar with woodies?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to do that, but it was November. We got there. We couldn't find it for a while, so we kind of looked ahead, scouted a couple of the first potholes, and we're like, you know what? No, it's too late in the day. If we were a month earlier when it was warmer, then we try it. But all the potholes were really full of water, and it was like, this is going to be quite a slog. But the nice thing is,
super cold.
There's that kind of upper section there, kind of dog legs right there. And so what we did instead, so it wasn't really like a wasted day, then we just practiced working those potholes in that upper section. We practiced using the sand trap and throwing the bags and trying to figure out, because we had such a range of, like, I think Marley, you were the smallest person there, right?
Yeah.
So we could use her, we could use the heaviest guy that was there, and we could kind of figure out, well, what does it take to safely go down that? And can we send Marley over the pothole and have her tie off on stuff? And can she hold us if one of us tries to climb in or out of that pothole? And we just kind of turned into a training day. Yeah, it's kind of a practice day.
Yeah.
Did that work out well? Were you able to hold them for?
Yeah, some of them, yeah. Others, not so much.
Okay.
But I'm a lot bigger now, and when we were in some of the canyons, I could hold people. I could be fireman blaying people who are like 4 times my size, and I'd be able to hold them just fine because when you're in that panic mode, you let go, and someone has to be able to hold you, and you gotta just hold on and pull down and be their brake, and it always works out.
That's really cool for you guys to practice those skills out there. That's awesome. Yeah, some of those canyons in North Wash are super tight. Yeah.
They definitely encourage you to buy more gear more often because it wears it out.
Right. Yeah, I always tell my friends, do not bring anything you like to North Wash because it will get messed up. Go to DI, grab yourself some pants, whatever. They will be shredded by the end of your trip there.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, very cool. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we end today?
I don't think so.
No, love the podcast. It's great.
Yeah.
We just found out about it a little while ago, maybe a month ago, I guess. Maybe even less than that. But it's kind of fun. Listen to it. We listened to a couple of them on the way to Ouray. She really liked the one that you did with Jasmine King.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What I wanted to mention too, when you guys were talking about North Wash and you had a big group and a lot of kids, I don't know if you listened to the other Kids in Canyon one about a 16-hour leprechaun trip, but yeah, they tried to do leprechaun and it ended up taking them way longer than expected. And then after their kids had more skills and they went with some other experienced adults, they redid it and did it in a quarter of the time. It's a good story. They learned a lot that trip.
Yeah, we had a similar experience with that.
Yeah.
It took us longer to get out, and the person at camp who was actually your mom, right?
Oh yeah.
And she wasn't familiar with well, you may not be out before dark. We did start kind of late, and we may not be out the exact time. So we got back to camp, and we saw her taillights heading up the highway. She was going in to get signal to call search and rescue because she didn't know. And the funny thing about it was she calls them up, and they said, well, how many people in your party? because search and rescue, it was night. It was like 9-10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, you're fine. And how many people in your party? She goes, well, there's like 4 kids and there's 3 men that are all 50 and above. They're like, okay, we'll get a team together. Something about that age.
Either the kids or the adults over 50.
Yeah, they weren't even that concerned about the kids, but as soon as she said, the over 50, then they're like, okay, yeah, well. But then we caught her and we got back to the signal, and we were able to call right away and go, no, we're good. We ran about an hour longer than we thought, but they were really nice about it. We learned. I always carry an inReach just in case we get in really bad trouble, but we've never gotten anywhere close to that. But it's nice to know that you got some way to communicate if something really bad goes down. So.
Yeah,
for sure. And I bet as a mom, she was just like, they're not back yet. Something's going on.
It was literally the least experienced person on the trip. So she didn't know what to expect necessarily. And, but I mean, we even had radios, but she had bumped it, so she was on it like one channel off, so she couldn't communicate.
Oh no!
She had tagged down a couple that had been driving down the highway to help her look, and we had the inReach, and I think I sent a message on the inReach, but she left her cell phone in the tent. So when she was driving in to call, she was trying to find a phone. And so she didn't get the message from the inReach saying, hey, we're running a little bit long. And it was just this culmination of all these things.
Right.
But it was also good because from that point on, it was an opportunity to go, okay, here's what's going to happen. This is what the beta says, but we also think it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah. Don't
worry about calling for help unless we're this much time past when we thought we would. And just kind of, it was a good outcome, but it was an opportunity to talk about what your contingency plans are and what would happen in a worst case scenario, just to kind of think about that for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everything's fun until something happens.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember one time I went just for a hike for the day, but it was after I had been canyoneering for a while. And so my daughter knew, like, if I'm not home at night, like, that's one thing. But if I'm not there, like, in the morning, maybe you should worry.
All right.
And I definitely got cliffed out over the river, and we couldn't cross the river to get back to my truck. So we kept getting cliffed out like 30 feet above the river. It was so stupid. And so right as sunset, we're just like, okay, I guess we just stay here for the night. And luckily, I worked for Tom at the time, so he understands what happens when you have to just accidentally bivvy in the canyon for the night, even though I wasn't actually canyoneering. But and then my daughter was used to me, whatever. And so as soon as I was able to get to service and let everybody know that I was okay, they were all like, okay, good. I was starting to worry, but yeah, that happens.
I've always got that. We're like, oh yeah, we do have to text someone to make sure that we're not dead. We did not die.
Yeah, let me tell you, putting frozen neoprene socks on in the morning is better than a cup of Folgers for sure. It's the best part of waking you up. That's hard. Anyway. All right. Well, you guys stay safe in the canyons out there. I love that you have Marley out at such a young age, and I hope that this encourages other kids to get out there too. Other parents to take their kids out. If they want to reach out to you or just say hello, is there any way that you want them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely email us. It's adventures42day@gmail.com, and that's adventures with the number 42 and then day@gmail.com. Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for other canyoneering people to go. We like practicing.
Any other kids in the Denver area, reach out to Marley.
Yes, please.
Awesome. I'll also try to link you guys up with the bakers here in Utah because they go out to the North Wash a lot, and then her kids are about your age. So.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
that's a lot of fun.
Good.
That'd be cool. The canyons are calling. We should probably go.
Okay, it was good talking to you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Marley and Christian. I absolutely love seeing kids in canyons. If you are a family that does canyoneering and your children would like to be on this show, please, please, please reach out to me. I envision having the Kids in Canyon series, and so far I've only had, this is number 3. So if you have not listened to the other ones, earlier on in the podcast, I interviewed the Dye family, and they have kids between 4 and 7 that do canyoneering. And then also I interviewed the Baker family, and they have an entire handful of kids that range in the age from like 3 to 12 or something, and they had some incredible stories and learning lessons in Leprechaun and the North Wash. So I encourage you to listen to those stories, and also reach out to me to get more kids and families out into canyoneering. I feel like it is such an amazing sport for just teamwork and family building, bonding, and just a great addiction for the kids to have. So I love sharing those stories, and Marley's enthusiasm, it was just incredible. So I can't wait to meet her in person and do some canyons with her. That'd be awesome. Again, if you have an idea for the show, reach out at thecanyonsarecalling@gmail.com. You can also join us on Facebook, The Canyons Are Calling group page. Also on Instagram, it's Canyons Are Calling. If you would like to support me on Patreon, that is Patreon/The Canyons Are Calling. And there you can just make any type of donation, whatever you feel like the show is valued to you. So I really appreciate any type of donation. All of my Patreons have been awesome. And I'm looking forward to our canyon call tomorrow. The first Wednesday of every month, we get together and just chat about canyons. I am also putting together a skills day, so if you're in the Kanab area, that will be the end of October. So still trying to pin down dates, but it'll probably be October 29th or 28th, whatever that Saturday is. I will get that finalized this week and look for notifications in the Facebook group page if you're in the Kanab area and would like to come to a skills day, just practice and eat tacos and hang out with people. Anyway, the canyons are calling. I'm going to stop rambling on now. Gotta go.